An estate in Atlanta sold for nearly $20 million, and most people in the city never even heard about it. That's how wealth tends to move here. Very low key, and I want to show you where these ultra high-end deals are happening. I've been working in these neighborhoods for 28 years, and a lot of the areas on this list are ones most people never really see from the outside. And the last neighborhood is one of the most underrated opportunities in the entire city. So stay with me. Buckhead, Atlanta's traditional luxury anchor. When you drive through Tuxedo Park, there's a stillness that's hard to explain. The gates close, the road curves, and the trees close in overhead. And for a minute, it doesn't feel like you're 5 minutes from one of the busiest parts of the city. That's what buyers at the very top end have been paying for over 100 years. Now, Buckhead isn't just one neighborhood. It's closer to 40 smaller areas spread across 30 square miles, centered around West Paces Ferry, Habersham, and Peachtree, running north from Midtown. And when you look at where the highest end buyers tend to focus, 3 areas stand out: Tuxedo Park, Peachtree Heights, and the estates around Chastain. Those are the ones to know. Tuxedo Park sits at the top. Large lots, gated driveways, classic architecture set back behind hedges, and in February 2025, it was added to the National Register of Historic Places. Peachtree Heights has that same feel: larger lots, older homes, and streets where families have stayed for generations. And then the homes around Chastain Park sit right by one of Atlanta's largest parks, so you're getting that green space right outside your door. Homes here are usually over $4 million, and the top end can go past $10 million, depending on the lot and whether it's new construction. The reason those prices hold is pretty simple. There's not much land left. The reputation has been built over decades, and you're still right in the middle of the city. That combination is hard to replace, and it all comes down to how much is right here. You've got Phipps Plaza and Lenox Square for shopping, high-end restaurants, private schools, and private clubs, all within about 15 minutes of downtown and 30 minutes to the airport. And later, I'll show you the one area that gives you access to all of this at a lower price point. That one's worth staying for. Stick with me. Now, still on the topic of convenience, the Cherokee Town and Country Club sits right in the middle of all of this and anchors a lot of the social side. Atlas, inside the St. Regis on West Paces Ferry, has a Michelin star and a Forbes 5-star rating. When you buy here, you're stepping into something that's been built up over generations, and that's not something Atlanta has really recreated anywhere else. But Buckhead operates at a certain level. What comes next is different, still important, just a lot more personal. Now, before I show you what that looks like, if you're watching this and thinking about buying at this level in Atlanta, that's the kind of search I work on. I've spent 28 years working across these neighborhoods, and I can help you narrow in on what fits. My contact info is in the description below. Let's keep going. Ansley Park, historic wealth near Midtown. Half a block off Peachtree, you're in Ansley Park, and the city just drops away. The streets curve, small parks pop up everywhere, and the whole place moves at its own pace. Behind those older homes, there's a way of living most of the city doesn't even see. Ansley Park sits about 3 miles from Buckhead, right on the edge of Midtown. The neighborhood was laid out around 1904 based on the same design ideas that Frederick Law Olmsted made famous, the same mind behind Central Park and our Piedmont Park. The goal was to make it feel like a park from the inside, where the layout slows things down and people actually connect. And that still holds today, even with everything around it growing. The lots are large for in town, which is rare, and the homes are a mix of early 1900s Victorians and craftsman houses, along with fully updated properties. The community is tight in a way you don't usually see this close to a city center. You've got professionals across the board, people in medicine, law, the arts, and universities, and it's a place where neighbors actually know each other. Homes here usually trade somewhere in the above 1 million range, with fully restored homes going much higher. What buyers are paying for is pretty simple to understand: the land, the design, the access to parks, and how close you are both to the business side of Midtown and the arts. And what's interesting is the buyer who ends up in another area we'll get to later is making a different choice at a similar price point. Same budget, very different idea of what luxury looks like. Stick around. So yes, Ansley Park has luxury and is right near everything. You can walk to Piedmont Park, you can get to the arts easily, you're right by Midtown for work, and you're in a neighborhood that's had over 100 years to develop its character. That mix of location and character is harder to find than most people expect at this price point. And for buyers who want the same level of luxury without any exterior upkeep, the next option looks very different. Luxury condo market, high-rise wealth. Most people think of Atlanta luxury as big estates on wooded lots. But some of the wealthiest long-term residents here live in buildings where they never deal with a yard at all. And that's exactly how they want it. That's the ultra-luxury condo market. The buildings that define this are mostly between Midtown and Buckhead. You've got the Ritz-Carlton residences, the Four Seasons residences, and the Dillon. And these don't feel like typical residential buildings. They run more like high-end hotels, which is the whole appeal. I've worked with clients in the Ritz-Carlton residences, and living there feels very different from anything else in the city. You've got a full-service concierge. You can order from the restaurant like room service. They handle your dry cleaning, you pull up, and someone brings your groceries upstairs. And yes, HOA can run anywhere from around $1,500 to $4,000 a month, depending on your unit, but you're getting real service behind that. Most units in these buildings fall somewhere between 1.5 and 5 million, depending on size, floor, and views. And the top end goes higher. Elton John owned a penthouse at Park Place on Peachtree in Buckhead for over 30 years. And when it sold, it landed 45% above its asking price and sold for over $7 million. And that was in one of the earlier luxury buildings in the city. When we get to the last neighborhood on this list, you'll see something you don't see very often. Historic homes and brand new custom builds sitting right next to each other at the same price point. Now, this kind of condo tends to attract a very specific buyer. It's the lock and leave lifestyle. No exterior upkeep, no managing a large property, full security, and easy access to restaurants and shopping. For people who travel a lot or buyers coming from cities where high-rise living is the norm, this makes a lot of sense. It's a real part of the luxury market here that doesn't always get talked about. And from there, we're going in a different direction. The next neighborhood is about as far from this as you can get. Milton. Land and privacy. One of the first things that catches people off guard here, especially buyers coming from the coast, is that some of the highest end buyers in Atlanta don't live in the city at all. Milton sits north of 285, so that's outside the perimeter, and it feels very different from everything we've talked about so far. There aren't sidewalks, you've got elongated driveways that disappear into the trees. Most homes sit on 1 to 5 acres, and you usually can't see your neighbor from the house. That's exactly what people are looking for here. What really defines this place at the high end is the equestrian setup. This is one of the few places in the metro area where having land for horses, paddocks, riding space, that's just part of the property. And then you have communities like Country Club of the South that layer in golf club amenities and security on top of that, while still giving you space you just can't get inside the perimeter. Homes at the estate level here are usually in the $2 to $5 million range, with custom builds on larger lots going higher. The value is really in the land. New construction, real acreage, and the level of privacy you get from distance and tree coverage. That's what people are paying for, and there isn't an in-town version of that. This area has also pulled in a lot of professional athletes over the years, and it makes sense when you see it in person. You get privacy, security, space, and homes built from the ground up. The buyer here is trading proximity for that space and privacy, and for some people, that's exactly the right move. But it does bring up one question. What if you want that same level of quality and still be about 20 minutes from the city? That's where Brookhaven comes in, and it's the one I think more people should be paying attention to. Brookhaven, close-in custom luxury. Brookhaven is one of the only places on this list where two things are happening at the same time, and most people don't see it until they've spent time there. You've got real historic character, the kind that takes decades to build. Right next to that, you're seeing a lot of teardowns and new custom homes going up that compete with anything in Atlanta at this price point. Those two things don't usually sit side by side, and that's why you'll see homes here reach into the $1 and $3 million range when everything lines up. Brookhaven also gives you access. You're close to Buckhead, close to Midtown, and inside the perimeter, or right there on the edge of it. The commute feels like a short drive, not something you have to plan your day around. Now, the lots are smaller than what you'd get in Milton. That's just part of being closer in. But new construction here usually runs between $2 and $3 million, and it's built for what buyers want right now. Clean design, big windows, smart home features, and finished lower levels set up for hosting. Buyers coming from coastal cities recognize this right away. The buyer in this area is usually looking for a shorter commute, modern finishes, and proximity to the city without being in a high-rise. So you still get a house, your own space, your own driveway, but you're about 20 minutes from the center of everything. At the end of the day, the right neighborhood in the ultra-luxury market isn't always the most well-known one. And now you have what you need to make a decision that lines up with your lifestyle. If you're looking in this price range and want a clear look at what's available across these areas right now, email me at hello@vcgrealty.com today. Let's find the right fit for you. And the video linked here is for anyone moving to Atlanta who wants to look beyond the obvious places. It covers 6 in-town neighborhoods, including one where prices won't hold once the South Side Beltline Trail opens this summer. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you there.